historic events that happened here, how it changed our lives, and how it changed the world. And I can't remember in 40 years a May 4th when my heart was more full. First, to see so many members of the Kent SDS here on this Commons today. People who inspired us in 1968, 1969, and 1970. Second, to see my roommate, Lois Silverman Bernstein, who 42 years ago, when we were living in Lake Hall, introduced me to Sandy Scheuer. Lois is here with Sandy's sister, Audrey, and Sandy's niece, Shauna, and her cousin, I believe, also is here. They came to remember Sandy, even as they grieved the death early Sunday morning of Sandy's mother, Sarah. Sarah was one of the May 4th Task Force's most avid supporters, grateful all these years for what students since 1970 have done to remember her daughter, and all that they continue to do to teach others about the circumstances that led to her senseless death 40 years ago. I'm especially touched to see so many Kent State University students taking time to be here to remember 4 people they never knew, especially before finals week, and I know how hard that is for a lot of you. As an instructor here, I know how tough it is to be a college student today, in many ways a lot more difficult than it was for us 40 years ago. In 1970, my college tuition here at Kent State was $197 a quarter. My room and board at Lake Hall at the top of that hill was less than $500 for the entire year. A college education 40 years ago was affordable for us. Our textbooks were cheap. We didn't have to juggle our college studies with 20 or 40-hour work weeks. The poorest of us didn't have to rely on our parents, on credit cards and high-interest loans to go to school. We had time to be students. We had time to gather, time to talk, time to listen and to think. We had time to look at what was wrong in America and to act on our consciences to make it better. As college students, we grew to care deeply about what was being done in America's name across the world. We became angry as more and more of our brothers and friends returned home in body bags from an unjust war in Southeast Asia. We grew up believing that America always represented the good guys, only to find out that in more and more ways we were the bad guys. Our government of the people, by the people, for the people was proving throughout the world to be a government of the corporation, by the corporation, and for the corporation. As college students, we cared not only about our friends who were dying in Vietnam, but about the poor and desperate people whose country was being ravaged with our military might. We grew angry and ashamed at what our nation was becoming. Inspired by human rights and social movements throughout the world and inspired by the civil rights movement here at home, American students of every creed and color banded together at Kent State. We didn't see our differences. We saw the things that united us. To fight racism, to fight imperialism, and to put an end to war. And I'm sure that today's students, I'm sure that for you, Afghanistan and Iraq seem just as far away as Vietnam and Cambodia seemed to us 40 years ago. And like us, many of you want to believe that America has only good intentions for the people of this country and only noble missions abroad. You want to believe that our purpose when deploying troops throughout the world is to liberate people and protect people from tyrants who would deny them the freedom we have. But like the Pentagon Papers did for us 40 years ago, Operation Iraqi Freedom opened many of your eyes when the only thing America seemed to protect once the annihilation began in Iraq was the Iraqi oil fields.